Alright, today's video going to be replacing the power steering pump on the single cam. Once I installed the rack, topped out the fluid, bleed the rack and everything, it started making a whine. Alright, so hopefully you were able to hear that. Hopefully the exhaust wasn't too loud, or the engine too loud. But yeah, so it's making a whine. First we're going to start unhooking all these vacuum lines from anywhere near the pump so we can untension the belt. I'm not going to take this off until I bleed the reservoir and everything. Okay, first thing I want to do is loosen up the jam nut that pretty much locks the adjustment screw. It's a 14 millimeter. So now with that loose, now when I unscrew this, I'll be able to adjust this belt down to take it off. And just for ease of access, I'm going to go ahead and take off the intake tube from the throttle body all the way to the box. This line comes from the bottom of the reservoir, so I'm going to pull that off, that clamp off, and then pull the hose off. I'm going to drain it into this pan. Now I'll go ahead and take off the upgraded pressure line, 18 millimeter. Now we're going to go ahead and take off the supply line, which is an 8 millimeter clamp. Now the pump is all alone. Now we can just go ahead and unbolt it. Okay, now we're going to get these 3 bolts that hold the pump to the pump mount. You can see 1, 2, 3. They are 14 millimeter. And here you go. Here's your power steering pump. Now I'm going to go ahead and take off my fittings and the bracket. I didn't realize, I forgot about this bracket. That's probably not on the new one or the remanufactured one. And then the supply fitting right here and the pulley, because I think they just give you a bare pump. 19 millimeter for this chase space fitting. The supply fitting, there's 2 12 millimeters. Because we don't know if the new one's going to come with the new seal, I'm going to save this one, and also I'm going to look online for replacement seals, because of course you want to use a new one. But worst case scenario, we're going to salvage this one. Now it's this bracket for the back for that 4th mount. One is a 12 millimeter, the other one I believe is 14. $19 millimeter. I'm gonna put a big pry bar. And there you go. Pull these off. We can go ahead and take this pump in and get our new one. Okay, now we got our new pump. I already installed the input feed line. I was making sure that the seal sat down and I was testing new bolts. But now, got to go ahead and clean off all the threads and inside and make sure there's no debris in there. I don't like that they painted this top, so I'm gonna see if I can take off the paint so the washer actually seals up. I don't want to be dealing with this later, so. Okay, cleaned it all off. And also, just if you're gonna do that, use a brass pick, not a metal one or like a steel one or like a screwdriver or anything like that. You don't want to do that. You want to use a brass pick so it doesn't score up the sealing surface. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and put the bolts back in and then install the pump. I don't have the torque specs on them, but once they bottomed out, I just gave it like a 1/8 of a turn or so, just to give it a nice snug. Now we can go ahead and put the feed line, the input line. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill it up. Some valvoline ATF. I'm not going to put the line on first because I want to make sure that there is fluid supplied to the pump before I spin this, because I don't want to risk running this dry for any amount of time so I don't ruin this pump. And according to the specs in the service manual, this whole system just takes 1 quart. Okay, so I couldn't create enough of vacuum by hand, so I decided to use my little impact to spin this clockwise from this position. And there was nothing for like a half a second. Then, bam. So now that we know that there's fluid into the pump, this barely even went down yet because, like I said, it wasn't a much. It was a quick splurt. I just wanted to make sure fluid was coming out. Now that we know fluid is gonna come out, or is coming out from that pressure line, I can go ahead and install the high pressure hose that goes to the rack. Okay, now that we know that the pressure line has fluid in there, the reservoir to the pump has fluid, I still got to top that off, of course, and I still got to bleed the rack, of course. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double check the mounts, and then we can go ahead and throw on the belt. go ahead and take it off the jack and go for a drive. Hopefully this video helped y'all. Y'all have a good one.